Hello and welcome to Boomer Live once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we are here to cover a thriller of a contest which just got finished between Afghanistan and Sri Lanka. It was a nail biter to say the least because you saw two teams fight it out. Afghanistan had to win it with a good net run rate to qualify, and they tried their best. They tried to chase down 37 odd overs, but they fell short by 2 runs. Mohammad Nabi was a star in today's effort. He scored a brilliant 60 odd. Rashid Khan trying to stay till the end, scoring those important runs, but it was not meant to be. You really needed that extra bit of runs. But unfortunately, as you know, the result has gone Sri Lanka's way as they win two in the trot and they make it to the super force. Now that is the news which we've gotten. So, Jen, what a game of cricket, isn't it? Because what a contest. Afghanistan really showing that they come so close all the time, but they have to get over the line now.
Yeah, I think when they did it against Pakistan in the Asia Cup, or when they did it against Pakistan again in the World Cup, India in the World Cup, and not to forget now this one as well. Now you almost the initial few times we always felt bad for them. We felt like they were on the unlucky side, but now able at this point in time you have to question. Questions has to start coming up whether there is an issue with this Afghanistan team to see the game through because I mean it was an exceptional job scoring 290, 280 odd in 38 overs against the likes of Sri Lanka, a very well established test nation
Yeah.
who have played over the years, who have a cricketing culture compared to Afghanistan, whose cricketing
Yeah.
culture is still in their nasal stage, to be very frank. You would have to say that's impressive amount of work, but then it just isn't. For some reason, they're not able to get over the line, and that's it. Just seems to be a mental block as well. On the other hand, you'd have to give credit to Sri Lanka because now we have seen them do this against teams. Whenever they come close to a winning position, even something where they can snatch the victory out of the opposition's jaws, they are being able to convert it into wins. And today, it came very close. Maybe in many ways, you'd have to say that Afghanistan were given a slight bit of opportunity early on, which they shouldn't have been. But then, at the end of the day, Sri Lanka and their gumption really to ensure that they, got the wickets required because it's not an easy pitch to ball on. That's for sure because it was a high run scoring match. I know probably you would have to say that it was not as high scoring as probably what you would see in England.
Yeah.
But even then, something where Sri Lanka really took a bunch of wickets to ensure that they were able to stifle Afghanistan. Even Sri Lanka themselves lost 8 wickets. So in overall, in many ways, you could say it was a very good match, a very good cricket match, high quality cricket really.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, you saw that they had to really get things going, and unfortunately, they fell through. What a match! How many heartbreaks, man? Should for the data analysts. Yeah, I mean, to be very honest, it is hard. It is very hard to be sack the data analyst. I mean, you can say. Yeah, ultimately you can sack the data analyst for miscalculating the run chase and whatnot. But ultimately, and I'll also have to say one thing. Let's be very honest. Afghanistan really showed what they can do.
Yeah.
They really showed to the world 37 overs. They really set the stage on fire. I mean, 2 runs. If Fazilak Farooqi again has to face the brunt of things, especially when it comes to these close finishes, it's either with the ball and now it's with the bat for Fazilak Farooqi. But let me tell you one thing. The knock was Mohammad Nabi played. I know we're not giving credit to Sri Lanka. We will give credit to them. But then Mohammad Nabi really showed that this team, if you give them the freedom, they can possibly put out some blinder of performance like this.
I mean, for me, one thing to be sure that both the opening batsmen for Afghanistan, both Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadran, would feel like they missed out on it on a day where they are probably, I mean, especially someone like Gurbaz is such a experienced batter, not playing international cricket, yes, or not even playing one-day cricket, yes, but he's definitely gone around the world. He's traveled around the world when it comes to franchise cricket. So it's not like he's alien to a high-pressure situation.
Yeah.
So for him to be dismissed today, you would have to say that it was not really a good shot. It seemed like a shot of a player who's low on technical qualities, you would say, and that's not what I've seen Gurbaz do. He's someone who's got enough quality in him to survive the kind of shot, or avoid the kind of shot he played today. And even Ibrahim Zadran, another player who's done well for Afghanistan in the international scenario, again, no feet movement from both of them playing.
Yeah.
Under the lights, a wide ball under the lights against someone like Rajita, who is very good, you have to say, in terms of the Sri Lankan bowlers to make the new ball talk. We saw him do that against the likes of Bangladesh as well, where he bowled a very decent spell, you would have to say. So those two wickets I really felt they were. That's where Sri Lanka had a slight, they're always the favourites to start off with, and then for them to fight back. Afghanistan, credit to them, yes, but again, as you rightly mentioned, there's something about this Afghanistan team where Fazalak Farooqi somehow ends up in the middle of these kind of situations. He really didn't need to. All he needed to do was survive. Very test matches situation, you would have to say, where survive maybe the last three balls and then just continue. He played three deliveries before he got out, did not score a run. All he had to do was play two more or three more without losing a wicket, without losing his wicket, and hopefully, not hopefully, rather, you would have known that Rashid Khan would have finished if he had gotten the strike.
Yeah, Disha analyst CV, which includes the Rajasthan Royals and assistant coach of Australia A. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we can't really sit and blame the analyst over here. Let's just take that away. Analysts can give a certain amount of data, and when it comes to calculations, but ultimately, I still think they should have been more resilient to cross over the line. You still have to. I mean, they did a very valiant effort today. I mean, you can sit there from another perspective and say how close did they come today, how close this game could have been if they would have
Yeah.
chased it down. This would have been historic. But nonetheless, for them, they will have to come back harder in the World Cup. And they've already sent shockwaves that this is possibly the potential of this team. Maybe this is the brand of cricket they should be playing, which is fearless brand of cricket.
Yeah.
And I think if they can score 289 and 37 overs, and if they can apply themselves a little bit, they can absolutely be on top of the game on other days. But for me, I feel they'll be very disappointed with the way in which their bowling has performed in the last couple of matches.
Correct.
To concede 334 odd against Bangladesh, to concede 290 odd against Sri Lanka. I think you feel Rashid, Mujib, and Nabi, they feel slightly let down with their performance in the recent past.
Absolutely. I think we spoke about this in the previous live as well. I did say that if they had ended up playing in Pallekele, the matches that they played in this group, right? I mean, if they had, they were playing in Lahore most of their matches, both the matches they played in Lahore, which is a very flat track. I mean, and it's not easy for especially spinners. You would have to say
Yeah.
to get the turn, get the purchase. I understand that, but the quality that Mohammad Nabi, Rashid Khan, even Mujibur Rahman have, I don't really know if pitch should be. I mean, great ballers don't really consider pitches, or they're really not there in the equation. I know it just dulls their performance slightly. They become a little less of a threat. But the way that I mean, throughout this Asia Cup, everyone knew, or right before the start of it, everyone knew that it was those three who would be the crux of this bowling lineup. I know Fazalak Farooqi and Fazalak Farooqi has some brilliant performances over the years, or at least not over the years, but at least in the last few matches. Some of the matches he's done well. He's picked those early wickets up, but even today he was a disappointment. Mujib did fairly well, I would say, with 1 over 60 runs, and he's also someone who struggled a lot. But Rashid Khan today got 2 wickets, gave away 63. Again, very disappointing. I think Nabi did a very good job, 10 overs, 35 runs. Compare that to the amount of runs that Sri Lanka scored, the amount of runs that everyone else around him gave. I think that was a brilliant performance. He's also probably one you would say who's the least skilled spinner. Not that he's a bad bowler, he's a very clever bowler, but he doesn't have the kind of variations or the kind of weapons in his arsenal that a Rashid Khan or a Mujibur Rahman have. So for them to have not gotten more wickets and given away these many runs, that's probably also the reason why you hope that these bowlers are the ones who are able to keep them restricted.
Absolutely, and that's something which you feel as well as a team when it comes to accommodating these teams. I think India versus Pakistan is the marquee event throughout. But ultimately, what happens is when you have such a contest, most important thing is how are you going to bifurcate these kind of things? Are you going to look into it as an Asia Cup or as an event which is going to be marketing just the two teams? I personally feel sometimes it is unfair on other teams as well. If you look, they've accommodated matches in such a way that India versus Pakistan is going to be played on three major weekends rather. If India versus Pakistan is in the final of the Asia Cup as well, so that is how the tournament was even last year. Last year was such a bummer for the organizers when Sri Lanka went into the final. India lost against Pakistan and Sri Lanka. But yeah, talking about which I think we have to give enough focus to other teams. Sri Lanka had a very good effort. I mean, you have talked about Kushal Mendes, a vice captain of this team, showed really what he can do with the bat. He's always been there and thereabouts. I mean, I can understand the pitches are easier to play in Pakistan in comparison with what you see in Sri Lanka. But then the way in which he played, the way in which he really showed, I really thought, Sri Lankan team has got great potential. And Sri Lankan team is proving again and again the potential they have. Remember, this is not their full strength team at all. This is a team which is half strength and really showing the world that they are a team to really fight it out. And when they come to their own backyard, they're going to be even stronger, and that is what's going to be their strength. Which this tournament gets washed out, and not the greedy administrators. I mean, a lot of things can be questioned over here to this Asia Cup because, firstly, India will not travel to Pakistan. That was the bottom line of things, and to accommodate Sri Lanka, you saw a lot of things now going the way. Uh, Maybe UAE could have been an option, but
But the travel issues, I mean, you traveling to UAE and then coming back to Pakistan, I think that would
it's
have been
easier.
is it easier?
This is easier. It would have been
I
easier.
think, but then, just talking about it, I think I'll agree with one thing that Teju has said, right? That the format is unfair for sure because there's some good quality teams. I think a round robin format, probably with just one final, would have been an easier one to conduct, even in terms of logistics. But they want at least, I think this format allows at least three India Pakistan matches if India reaches the final. And the other format would have probably only allowed one because you're obviously expecting only one match per team, or two rather, if they reach the finals. And it would have been lot more uncertainty whether India and Pakistan would reach the final because you would have to, win against the likes of Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Afghanistan, the majority of those four teams for either of the teams to make it to the finals. And that's just one team. Now you want both the teams in the final. So yeah, there's certainly there's a level of broadcasting allure that the boards have gone with, that ACC has gone with. That is a questionable one, and that's something that we've seen even in the World Cup. To be very frank with you, because I think before in the World Cup, remember 2011, 15, we used to have a lot more associate nations playing. Especially 2011, I really loved that format because I felt that included more associate nations. But then obviously when you do that, the issue that the organizers face is that then the quality of matches really reduces. Like an India Ireland or India Netherlands, if you remember, they were not as much high quality as an India England or an India South Africa in the 2011 World Cup. So that's the one issue that the broadcasters face. It's always a quality of matches in comparison with the what do you say, the inclusivity of these matches. But then for me, frankly, being someone who's a fan of cricket and wants cricket to grow, if you look at the football World Cup, that's a very good example. At the start in the group stages, you'll always have at least two matches which don't have that kind of quality. It's always the top two teams. You always know in every group almost who are the two teams to go forward. But even then, that World Cup is fun because it includes so many countries, so many cultures. So I don't really think in these big tournaments you should consider this as an issue. I think for that you have bilateral series already. Cricket is probably the one sport which is set in the best possible way for broadcasting profits to come to these boards. So I think at least in big tournaments you can cut a little bit of slack and create formats which are much more sporting in nature.
Yeah, Sunday Bharat versus Pakistan forecast is look good. Yeah, I think so because I've just read that there's going to be rain interruptions. So if things are going to be the same way in Palikali, at least we get to see a game which has a result. I don't want another rain washout for India versus Pakistan, but at least some of the games are moved to Hamban Tota, so that is some good news which we are getting out there. But other than that, I personally don't see why was there a need. I mean, India was a little stubborn even there, considering they don't want to play in Dambula. Obvious reasons. In Dambula, we've not had great success. We've only batted out for 50 overs once, and we've not even made it to 50 overs other times. And not just that, we've got scores of 103, 119, 202. So some bad scores as well. And with the night lights over there, it was never going to be Dambula, which India would have chosen because there's a big issue with the day and night lights as well. So with the floodlights over there. So obviously the choice would have been Kandy, and India would chose to play there. But Colombo, Kandy, everywhere it's affected. So it's the majority of Sri Lanka which is affected with rains. There's no other option other than to move to Hambantota, expecting there's no a lot of rains. See, remember, in Sri Lanka, you always get rains. Most of the time, you'll get rains. So it's always difficult to accommodate a tournament in Sri Lanka. So that is a major issue with hosting any kind of tournaments in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I mean, Sri Lanka's never hosted a tournament on their own, if I'm not wrong. They've always
2012 World Cup is the only thing.
Yeah, I think that's the only one that they have. Now that you remind me of, but I think overall,
just moving back in championship in 2001. Which India and Sri Lanka shared because of the rain as well.
Rain again, once again. I mean, they're an island nation. The weather works different there, very differently there. So that's also one of the factors that people have to realize. I think just going overall, you would have to say in many ways. My question right now here is: should India really be given an option on which grounds they should be playing? Because it is a major tournament
Just to
after
take
all.
this question, I don't think the World Cup
Yeah.
is happening in monsoon. Monsoon is over. World Cup is happening in winter, early onset of winters.
Yeah.
I don't. There's no rains anywhere in India in October, November, at least as of what I know.
I mean, whatever rains there are, it's mostly unseasonal rains,
Unseasonal
and that
rain.
you
That's
can't
it.
really control.
Yeah.
It can happen anytime, anywhere. So
So
that's not.
monsoon is over in India. It's
Yeah.
mostly onset of winters. So that's not a bad deal
And
to
it's
play
probably the
cricket in.
best time to play
It's the
cricket
best
in
time to
India
play cricket.
because you don't want to be playing in the hot summer, and you really don't want to be playing in the monsoon as well. So this is probably the best possible option for us to play. And see, unseasonal rains. I mean, for example, today we were in. I mean, being in Bangalore today, it rained quite heavily for us here, but that's unseasonal rain. That's not something that's because of the weather. Really, it's more a random act of God, to be very frank, and that
True.
can really happen. As organizers of the tournament, they can't really control it.
Absolutely, and I think it's a good time to play cricket in India. But in Sri Lanka, obviously, understand that it's a different belt, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
depression going on in that particular area as well. So these things are out of control. You have to be focusing on the cricket at least now. Whether let's leave it to weather. If things did not happen, it did not happen. Let's just forget it, and let's focus on what is a good cricket which we have in hand, which is India versus Pakistan tomorrow. I think Pakistan playing Bangladesh tomorrow,
Yeah.
so that's a big game as well. Pakistan versus Bangladesh. If Bangladesh can put up a fight like what they did against Afghanistan and bring that A game once again, I think that's going to be very interesting. Now, Super Fours are here, and Super Fours are going to be pretty interesting, and this is going to be the most exciting part of the tournament. The group stages are done and dusted. Now, every team, the best four teams are there. They're going to be playing against each other, so you'll have to be really on top of your game here.
Yeah, but this is Asia Cup as we have all known and loved. We have all grown up on these four teams playing against each other. I think Afghanistan and obviously Nepal are rising powers in their own rights. But now is where it'll really begin. To be very frank, especially for India and Pakistan, they both had Nepal to play, which I mean almost everyone knew are guaranteed 2 points unless either of the teams slip up. And now that this stage is past us, both Bangladesh and Pakistan would really look forward to that game because it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? Because Pakistan are riding high. They probably look the way they've played so far. They look like the favorites to win this tournament. On the other hand, Bangladesh they had a few hiccups, but now you would have to say that especially after that Afghanistan game, they'll really be feeling confident going after the likes of some of the best players in the world, Rashid, Mujib, and Mohammad Nabi. So, having said that, though, what's going to be important now is can they survive against the pace trio of Pakistan? That's the one major question. All the Bangladeshi fans will be hoping it goes for them because if that doesn't happen, we saw that against Sri Lanka, right? The moment they initially tend to struggle a little bit against the fast bowlers, the moment it felt like the fast bowlers were bowling the right line and length, even the likes of someone like Shakib Al Hassan, who's really a seasoned player, Rahim, who's very a seasoned player, they too couldn't really handle it. Now I know it's Patirana, who's very difficult to play. He's a very eerie bowler. He's someone who's very new. When you've not never faced players like him, even in youth cricket. But these three guys, Harris Roth, Shaheen Shah, Afridi, and Asim Shah, are riding high on confidence. It's not going to be easy. Even if it's going to be a flat pitch, it's not going to be easy at all.
Yeah, had Rashid come earlier, Afghanistan would have won the match. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you as well on this because I think Rashid should be batting number 7 for any team he plays. Even IPL, I feel sometimes he's used way too low down the order, but Gujarat Titans have been using him perfectly. And for Afghanistan, he should be batting higher up the order because he's got that ability. He's come off as a batter way too high now. He's been batting at a really good level. He's been able to take on the bowlers. And I think this kind of game really suits, this kind of template really suits his batting. He's not someone who's going to hang around by playing those conventional cricketing shots. He likes to be thrown into situations where he can go and swing the bat, and it really gives you those important 25-30 runs, and which is very going to be crucial. On a good day, he can give you 55 to 60 as well. So that's what you get from Rashid Khan today. He came very close. I mean, if he'd have gotten the strike, also he could have won the game for them. So it's either way at the end.
I mean, but then in many ways, you have to say the people who came ahead of him. I mean, Kareem Jannat, Najibullah, they both struck at 169, 153. So it's not like they did a bad job. They were cameos. I think today, if there's one player you would have to blame, if you really have to find blame, I think it was Fazal Farooqi. He just had to survive 2 more balls. I know they were looking for 37.1 to win the game. 37.1 overs is how much they required to finish the game in, if I'm not wrong. And
that was a wrong calculation.
Oh, that was a wrong calculation made. Oh, yeah, correct. They had targeted 37.1 overs, but then in many ways, I think if that's what happened, at least what they could have done is someone could have, I mean, it's possible that the calculation was made earlier and in the halftime, but they had another 37, 38 overs 35, 36 overs to really communicate that you have more time lags you can take it a little slow, or at least communicate to Fazlak Faruqi that you can wait this over out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Nabi finally woke up. He's got the potential. We all know what he can possibly do on a cricketing field. That's
Yeah.
why he's got the reputation. That's why he's still part of this team. They came very close. That's what you're talking about. They came very close. I think they'll take a lot of courage and they'll take a lot of positives from this particular effort they had made against a quality Sri Lankan bowling attack. There's no mere opposite. It's not like in Nepal. There's not in Sri Lanka. A good bowling attack. And they came this close by chasing that down. They had a target in mind. I think sometimes having a target in mind with a clear head really helps you to play fearless brand of cricket. And I think they can look back and they can really believe that if they go on to play fearless brand of cricket, which every player in the team can do, maybe they can go on to do something exciting in this World Cup. They're going to be playing grounds like Chennai, Lucknow, and that's really going to suit their spin
Yeah.
forte as well. So that is where I personally think this team is going to be really interesting. They would have gone to Super 4. It makes groups more exciting. I understand, but it's Bangladesh is not a bad team either. India or Pakistan and Sri Lanka and Bangladesh is going to be tight top four. I think the best two teams going to get to make to the final. So that's going to be interesting. This top, you can't take anything for granted here into Super 4 here onwards. India will have to be on top of the game. Pakistan will have to be on top of the game because for Pakistan as well, tomorrow's game is the first major challenge in
Yeah.
terms of that. If they slip up here, then all of a sudden the game against India becomes even more important. Then they're going to be coming into the game with so much of pressure. So for Pakistan, very important to win this game. Similarly for India as well as they start off against Pakistan. So you never know. Anything can happen in this Asia Cup. We often tend to write teams off very, very early. But that's how cricket is.
I mean, I'll just take couple of us with what he said right now. I think I'll just say the fact that India. I mean, just look at where they would have played India, right? They would have, or rather, all the matches of Super Four is happening in Colombo except for the one that's happening tomorrow. That's going to be happening in Lahore. So Afghanistan would have ended up playing at least 3 matches. I mean, 2 matches in Colombo where the conditions suit them a lot more. Because spin in Sri Lanka, it's much more. I think out of the 3 countries, Bangladesh, India, and Sri Lanka is one country where the grounds are such where the ball turns quickly off the
Yeah.
pitch. So the likes of Rashid, Mujib, who like to turn the ball at a decent pace, they would have become much higher and much difficult to face. So for them, they will feel like they missed out an opportunity, and that's why I spoke about it earlier as well. Them playing in Lahore is going to be such a huge disadvantage to them and such an advantage to the likes of Afghanistan. I mean, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh who are going to face them because it would really reduce their capabilities to take those wickets.
Absolutely. I mean, that's where you feel like a team like Sri Lanka as well. Going to their home, that's going to make them even more stronger opposition. And we have to see how the pitch in Hambantota plays because the
Yeah.
matches are shifted to Hambantota ultimately. Instead of making Super Force, all 16 should have been made to play round robin format. Yeah, that's one thing maybe it could be suggested in future, but they want to accommodate 3 India-Pakistan games.
Yeah, we spoke about it like
We
just
spoke
a few
about it, yeah. So
minutes
it's
back,
all
yeah.
about India versus Pakistan, unfortunately. So that's the whole point of it. Otherwise, this would not have
But
happened.
that's very well for me at least. Major tournaments, it's about inclusion. It's about giving everyone
Yeah.
a fair chance. And I understand if you want to do this in a bilateral series, but
Yeah.
this is a major
But I
tournament.
also think because India and Pakistan doesn't play
Bilateral.
series,
That's why they try to cash in on so much.
that's why
Yeah.
they try to cash in the Asia Cup, and we all know why this is made. India was Pakistan the same group, and they put a minnow opposition, and then they put the other thing. It's like a script written, so you can't do anything much about it.
Yeah.
Last time it was a bummer. They expected India Pakistan final as well.
Didn't
But
happen.
did not
It could
happen.
happen. It couldn't happen. I mean, it's possible it won't happen this time also.
Yeah, so
You never know.
So it always happens the other way. So that's about it from us. We'll be joining you all very soon tomorrow. We'll be back with our exciting Pakistan versus Bangladesh game. We'll talk about it in depth. Thank you all for joining. Don't forget to check out our app on Google Play Store and Apple App Store. It's free to download. And at the same time, do remember to check out our premium contest and also a predictive feature with Boomer 11. See you all very soon. Bye bye.